Happy.
No, that does not sound like
walk
most.
around with that collar popped up.
Yeah.
Hey, do this. Yeah. You move there. Yeah.
So let's go on that. I want to talk a little bit about each of your illustrious careers, because you guys have done a lot. All three of you have done amazing, have had amazing contributions to what we call house music. This is the Vintage House Show. And so part of what that is about is celebration and preservation. This is Lawrence framing, but the celebration and preservation of Chicago house legends and Chicago house music. And I think
All right. Good evening. This is the Vintage House Radio Show on WNUR 89.3 FM and HD1 Evanston, Chicago. This is your boy DJ Rocky Floyd. We are into the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2025. We are in the first month of 11 more to go. Today, I am... to everybody that comes on my show, I always say I am in great presence, and I am humbled to have these people here. This one is a little bit different for me, so because this is somebody that goes back with me to Jimmy Carter days. So, and I've known since Jimmy Carter days. So, I have the pleasure today of having a great conversation. Mr. Greg Winfield. How you doing, brother?
Hey, thanks, Rocky. How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful, brother. I am totally honored and humbled to have you here today. You and I have a very long history. And the funniest thing is that our paths hardly ever cross, but because of the upbringing that we both have, it's like it's never stopped when we have our conversations. So I'm humbled to have people like that in my life, and I am definitely humbled to have you here because you are a pioneer. I know people that don't always acknowledge it. However, for somebody, and I've always said this before, I've never been in the forefront of this house music thing. I've always been there. But I don't have to be. You don't have to see my face to know that. I would say the same thing for you as well. You've always been here. Everybody knows who you are. And and the stuff that you've touched has been amazing. The stuff that you've done has been amazing. So I'm always about flowers now, not when you're gone. So if people give the respect that you deserve, it makes it better. So. With that being said, for those that don't know Mr. DJ Super Extraordinaire Greg Winfield, give people a little background on you, when you started DJing, where it comes from, and how it still influences you today.
I started DJing based off of a family member.
Okay.
Cousin who Daryl Howe, who was in college at Southern University, and he came to me and asked me, wanted to show me this technique on being a mixologist back then. And that was in honestly, that was in the late 70s. It was about 79. I just came out of grammar school. Was about a sophomore in high school over Quigley South.
Big South.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah,
That's right.
And you know, it's funny because remember back then, you know, Mendel had it sold up, but Quigley would throw this
One party a year.
that one party.
One party a year
would be the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of intrigued me to start, you know, getting involved. So in the summer, my cousin would come home and he would go over, you know, have me practice, give me the 2 records deal, and I had to stay in the room until I
got it right.
Got it right. You know, I grew from there, and then you know, as we move on, I'll be able to talk about it a little more because what happened by being something that got my attention, I wanted to do it more. But him going away to school, I didn't have the equipment at that time.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, that's a funny story as we go through it, but you know, I one day I go in my basement and there's some turntables down there, and I'm wondering where did these turntables come from? But you know, I took them. I bought a little what they call Teledyne mixer, and I started my own thing in about my senior year, and by then. I got my freshman year of college. Got my first paid gig in college. I went to a small college on the north side, North Park College.
Okay.
And from there, you know, I got introduced to the Tony Hatchet.
Okay.
My roommates were close with Tony. And from that scene, that kind of took me in a different kind of path with music because at the time of when I started, the mixologist part was more of doing, you know, the New York style of tricks and scratches and you know. But then when I met Tony, that took me on a whole different path of like to the underground scene. You know, when I'm going to the loft with him and a few other parties, and it changed the the funky blends and all that. You know, working the EQ and that, you know, so he played a big role in, you know, where I'm at and what I'm doing when it comes to the industry as well. And then I can go down the list. I mean, one of the big successes that I had at a young age is we started doing when we got an audition for WKKC. They were trying to do mixes live on the radio every Friday night, and they had no show, they had no identity, and they didn't even have equipment. So I went up there and auditioned with a young man named Bernard, rest in peace. He wound up passing away, but that audition. And the next week they asked me to come back, and seeing what happened with Daryl tragically died of carbon monoxide poisoning. That was at a time in the world where we were not familiar with that, and he went in the garage. It was just a sad story.
Right.
And it wasn't nothing intentional. He just didn't know. And, but anyway, I was committed to go every Friday.
Okay.
You know, I met. From that point, after the audition, guys that followed me that came on after me, Brian Frazier, Hugo, Walter Brown was already there, and a guy named Sheldon Reese. And we ran the airwaves, and at that time, you know, at the beginning of the 80s, on the south side of Chicago, and you were able to play music and you were like a celebrity as well. You know, people gravitated to you, and it was huge for us. And we kept moving along the line of doing different things. But yeah, a lot of success with my cousin Daryl and dealing with Tony Hatchet and then my other turntable brothers as well. You know, the show originally, as far as the KKC show, it started out as a James Brown edit show.
Okay.
It wasn't a mix show at all. And I think the big challenge of that back then was by them not having the funding or able to have the equipment was, we had to bring, or I had to bring the equipment every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And the crate of records,
Mm-hmm.
back then, and then back then the crate was a shopping cart.
Right.
It wasn't like you had one little milk crate, no, because you didn't know what direction. And then of course we was bringing the music for the team, and big ups to my man George Little, because Plymouth Records, that was where he worked, and he made sure we all had all the current music and was on top of things on the scene, and
Okay.
a lot to it. A lot of people around me at that time in the beginning.
What years were you at KKC? When did y'all start?
That had to be about 83, 84. Yeah, about 84.
Friday Night Audio.
Yeah. So
that's the grassroots right there.
Yeah. Big deal. And then, it ties into a lot of stuff. The parties began to come.
Mm-hmm.
I can go down a list of, honorable mention to big parties. Like I used to, Tony snuck me in one of my big first parties was Wayne Williams' New Year's Day party at Sawyer's. He used to do a New Year's Day party every year at Sawyer's.
I love that place.
Yeah.
I love that place.
Yeah. I can go down the line. First Impressions in there, Playground. One of our big things for KKC was the supersets. They used to have these big supersets there that were like, man, and that place would fill up. I never seen that many people, in a place. I can, I just keep going. I go down the list, and we, the Beverly House. And my big thing is, my own neighborhood. I grew up in a small park, Brainerd Park, over on 91st and Troop, and a lot of good people over there. And my roots to St. Margaret. I got that. And also St. Margaret's. I did a lot. I had a lot of parties there coming up in the school hall, and then you go down the line to Visitation and all these other places. Longwood. I always laugh. I had to DJ the prom for Longwood in '85. 21 years old, and then somebody had the nerve to have me go on the prom.
Wow.
So not only was I DJing the prom, I had to go to the prom. Yeah, but those were the days when parties were fun. They're still fun now, but it's you look at the scene and how many people, how many DJs. Chicago's got some of the greatest DJs in the world. I know, even of yourself, I know 200 guys right now that I could grab and go around the world and would kill everywhere they go. So it's big ups to Chicago. We do have some of the best, and it makes it very competitive.
That it does.
It does. But at the same time, at some point, you have certain things you have to learn how to embrace it and let it come to you. Sometimes you can't force it. And when it's hot, it's hot. When the iron's hot, you got to know when to strike it. And if you're creating, you create, and that's how it goes. And that's how you keep the iron hot. So.
Okay. Who you've named Tony and a couple other people who have been very influential to the start of DJ Greg Winfield. Where do you how can I say it? With the plethora of DJs that we have, some don't have the years that you have. Some, as I sit back, I sit back and I think about and see all the great DJs that have come. Some have passed. Shout out to Armando. Shout out to people like that. Do you ever think that there was a point of when the DJ, because I for me back then, it was never really about the personality or the DJ itself. It was more about the music, no matter where you went. So you would go to a Frankie party, or you would go to a Ron party, but people came for the music because they wanted to hear, like, because Ron was great at breaking records for everybody.
Exactly. True.
So people went to go listen to Ron, but not really, get the persona of him, but more of, what you got to show us now.
You know, it's funny you talked about that. And it still is, believe it or not. I think that's part of the struggle. Why the industry is struggling is no one's greater than the music. You can put yourself, if you're not playing, and you're not playing, you know how you feel or what the feeling is of the room and the vibe, and you know how to take people on a musical journey.
Mm-hmm.
That defines where you're at. And today we've noticed, like now, I came up in an era where it was that one band, one sound, one DJ, one sound.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to know how to, take people on a musical journey. Now there are lineups out of this world. I'm not knocking it. It's just the time of where we at.
Right.
So everything's got to be hot. Everything's got to be. There's no momentum. There's no lift. There's no take you back down, let you catch your breath, take you back up. There's none of that. It's just straight drive.
Right.
But that's where the industry is at right now. But the bottom line to it is nobody's greater than the music, and you have to be able to define yourself.
It's creating. It's creating. I get the idea. And I get the gist of persona.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not knocking it. Because again, with technology and with the development of how we've progressed from 8-track to cassette to vinyl to to CD to where we are now. It made it easier to access music, of course.
Oh yeah.
And I think that for me the issue was that we had people who were behind the decks, and bless their souls, they played everything, and they ran music, and they took you on journeys. I think so many people nowadays, and they're so much more interested in making sure you know who plays it more than what's being played. You
Right.
understand what I mean?
I think part of it is, and it's more now we have a different business concept now.
Okay.
We didn't have that back in the day. We just, for the love of it was for the love of it. Not saying it's still not for the love of it, but now we have found a way to make it more business-fied, where you can actually like just eat off of it. You
Right.
can survive if you do this right. But once again, where some of the struggles may come in at is, and they don't, a lot of people don't agree or see it that way. There is a longevity fact to this. How long have you been around? How long have you been doing? What's your network like?
Right.
You can, and it's one thing, and I know we're gonna touch on my brother. It was one thing about my brother that he taught me years ago about a business in the 10-year period it takes for a business to get off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Some people catapult faster than that, but the actual just to get your business off the ground may take about 10 years for that to happen.
For it to be totally successful.
Exactly. So you're going to see a lot of bumps in the road. And if you look at when people have 10 and 20-year jumps on you in this game, of course your networking is going to be not as tight as theirs. And what I mean by that, it's just that they've touched more people.
Right.
So it's nothing personal. It's not a bad thing. I sometimes look at it, people get mad. I say it's like a seniority list. How long have you been on your job?
Very true. Very true.
And you see that. So the branding aspect of it now has changed you know, people understand now that if you have a brand, if you seriously have a brand, you know, what are you putting into it? How serious are you about it? And
Mhm.
you know, how long have you had it?
Right.
You know, that's the catch to it. And
Right.
if you have been consistent with it, you know, there's a lot of major things, and then that separates the industry.
Yeah.
That separates the you know the adults from the kids. You know,
Absolutely.
and then, you know, it puts you in an arena where here's where I'm at and here's where you at. Now, how you keep developing and keep driving to get that done, that's all on the inside of the individual.
Absolutely.
So you see that a lot now, and I see it a lot in the Chicago base of how's this and why is that. And yeah, of course, if I got my own music, I'm gonna keep playing my own music because I want my own music
To be out there,
to be out there. Yeah,
and
yeah,
established.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
understand.
yeah,
That's very true.
and that's just it. That's just how it rolls right now. And then if you're networking with the right individuals outside of uh your business that's tied into you, it just helps you grow. You know, I see it
Absolutely.
all the time. You know, I see it all the time. And the successful ones are the successful ones at it. Not saying that the next individual can't. I'm seeing more. How would you say it? Brands catch on to it. It's just that it's the time and where they at and how long they've been doing it. And you get to see the ones that's constantly, okay, they're making another breakthrough. They're making another breakthrough.
Hmm.
Whether it booms or not when they started, they get with it and they keep going.
And it's, the acknowledgement of the fact that
Exactly.
it's a
Yeah.
not nobody got to this wall and stopped.
Yeah.
They kept going.
Yeah.
I understand. Um, who um, who would you say? And this is not really just trying to put specific people out there, even though it is a who question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with the progression of the way that the DJ game has moved in Chicago, with the again with the plethora amount of DJs, how who how in your opinion, how do you determine? And I think you kind of touched on it with,
Mm-hmm.
with the seniority thing,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you determine who that guy is? Like, for example, now, and I want to let me state this first.
Mm-hmm.
This is no disrespect to Gene Hunt because I have the utmost respect to one of the, to me, he is
Mm-hmm.
one of the greatest DJs that's ever blessed thing. So, how do you know that Gene Hunt is that guy right now?
I mean,
I'm just using him as an example. Not saying he is, but I'm just, I mean, I could have pulled anybody, Terry or whatever, but
yeah,
how do you know that he
man,
is that guy?
Gene is a how would you say it? He's an artist, but he's a different kind of artist. He
Mm-hmm.
continues to think out the box, and whether it's somebody from his team or something that somebody has put in his lap or whatever it is, he has been savvy enough to stay ahead by doing something different in the scene that nobody else is doing. He'll
Okay.
always catch you with a, oh wow, you know, and those are the things, those are the intangibles that separate you.
Right. I mean,
We,
because again, everybody has a niche.
yeah.
You know,
Oh no, without a doubt.
like
I
I
mean,
mean,
that
because
man,
you know,
I know for a fact. What you know.
Farley is Farley,
Yes.
and Gene is Gene, and
Yeah.
Mike is Mike, and Terry is Terry.
Yeah.
And there's always you like, you know, I when it's a Terry song, I know it's a Terry song. When it's a Mike song, you just know
Right.
that even before you can even look at the name, if you hear the sound, you know the sound. And
Mm-hmm.
people have their niches. I I I I'm I guess I'm just trying to, for people that who don't know, who might want to know, who might want to, if they're trying to go to that next level,
Mm-hmm.
and because again, because of your established history,
Mm-hmm.
what do you? So if for example, if somebody was to come up to you today, say, "Hey, Mr. Winfield, I bought this equipment. I've been trying to do this stuff. I've been trying to learn on how to do it. What tip can you give me to be better and more successful?"
One of the things we just talked about is being consistent.
Okay.
That is the most important part about being in this industry. And the other part is you can't get discouraged. You know, I was just thinking about this the other day. We live in a world now where we love instant gratification. We love to pat ourselves on the back. We love to toot our own horn. And if we don't get that instant gratification, what happens? We automatically throw the broken toy to the side,
shut it down,
and shut it down.
Yep.
You know, and don't. And then one of the other things too is that we have to our ego. Sometimes you have to stay humble. If you don't humble yourself, you can't ask the next person to, it's no problem asking for help. I have not, since I've been in the game, I've not been rejected by, I don't care who it is. I have not been rejected if I call and say, hey, I need some help with this.
Okay.
There's no, I've not seen somebody say, man, I'm helping him. I've not been in that. Now, do I like all the characters and the major players in my industry? No, I don't. But I can guarantee you, we've been around each other long enough. We've been knowing each other long enough. If I've reached out and said, hey, I need your help with this, they haven't told me no. And that's what's cool about the house music. Yeah. But it's also what's cool about the house music scene, because we always had that church mentality. Come as you are.
Right. We
didn't care, straight gate, whatever it is.
Right.
Come as you are. And we've always been an open book. So it's the same principles to this day. Same principles. Funny story. I gotta throw this one in here. That's part of even in my upbringing. I did get the privilege of when the power plant was open. That was the only club my brother allowed me to go to. It was a power plant. So I did get the privilege to go and sit in the booth with Frankie. I got, when I look back at that and we'll touch on it, that I really now can look at what he was doing for me. Right. I didn't really see it at that time. At that time I was already glorified on my little radio show, and I wasn't little, but you know what I mean. I was already occupied with that, and he was already putting me in a whole nother world that was huge, huge. And long after he's been gone, I was able to tap into that resource as well, and they've always been there for me like a family. So, I got, I can say a lot of different things when it comes to the branding aspect and people staying, focused and not getting discouraged and not looking for instant gratification. Because everybody gonna start out and sound like they got Tinkerbell music when they first start out. It's just a part of the growing pains. But understanding how long it takes to get a successful brand or a successful business off, that's the key to it. And it's also depending on the people you surround yourself with too. So that's huge too. So that's careful.
Okay. All right. Well, we're about to hit to another topic. I want Miss Lauren to come in now. We a lot of people who don't know or might not know about your brother. I want to touch on him because I believe every intricate part of this industry that we've had forever needs to have its recognition and flowers. So, your brother, who is Benny Winfield, he passed away in 1990. So this is one of the founding people for house music in this city. I'm thoroughly aware of who he was, You know, if you're true to the game, you learn the aspects of everybody that's laid the foundation before you.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that's important for people to understand. Is that, you know, we may come up with something new that we think is new, but it's just been redone.
Yeah.
In some certain way. You know, kids are now walking around with bell bottoms. Guess what? It's not the first time bell bottoms
Man,
been out here, and it's not even the second time because we done been through this a couple of times. So I mean, tell people about your brother and the significance of why we have house music in Chicago.
Well, at the time, was a it was kind of a crazy time. I was just a little kid, and I was always an ear hustler
Okay.
in the house.
Okay.
Something you could, and I think the big thing of it was in the within the queer gay community at that time. Back then, it was more that were considered the gay community. They didn't have like how would you say it? It was kind of hard publicly,
Right.
to be open of what was going on. And I think the whole thing of what we like kind of touched on, Eve, it comes down to, the U.S. Social Club. I know it as U.S. Studio, but U.S. Social Club. But I think that was more of the platform for them to gain the exposure to be more public in what they were doing. It was also a place for them to have somewhere to go. We know that.
Right.
I watched my brother being in all the creative things that he was doing, coming out of high school, going to Loyola, and
we got to give Hale some love.
Without a doubt, without Hale's Franciscan. Yeah.
The other Spartans.
Yeah, the other Spartans. Yeah, watching him. I actually was at that play that he did in '69. I was a little boy. I was little. And I'll never forget that, watching him.
Your sister says, who's Madeline?
That's my sister.
She says hello.
Hey, sis, how you doing? She's in Seattle.
Yeah,
she is. Yeah. That we'll get to that part of the show in a minute.
Someone says tell Benny's true. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate that.
It was crazy at that time. So he was was in college. He was an intern for the Wrigley Company, and I think the whole thing of the purpose of the platform of making that movement and putting the whole scene into the mainstream of society was, he dropped all of that. He was a top model for Ebony Jet. He did so many different, all those billboards you saw with Hennessy and Newport and all that stuff. Like, he was in all of those different, I gave Lauren the picture. He was the only black guy on there with Faye Flynn. If you know who Faye Flynn is.
Wow.
People know who exactly who
that
Faye
is.
Wow.
Sure.
Oh, Faye Flynn. Wow.
So he did a lot of stuff that you wouldn't even know. But then along came the scene, and for my brother, he always was a person who studied before he went into something. And what I mean is, part of when you hear in the documentary, because he's all in the documentary, his pictures are all over there. When you hear about the part of going to New York, and it was all about creating this scene. When it came to that, his artist side was always thinking of different ways to make things better, or or have its own feel. He always individuality or his own way of thinking to make something successful was always an innovator. That's all it was.
Nice.
And he really got into getting this thing set up. I think at that time in the scene, nobody had defined roles, and he just was like he would do whatever it takes. Frederick said it best when he first got to the warehouse. The first person he met was Benny and Harold working on the door.
Okay.
then when you talk to Wayne, at one time he DJ'd, you know. I mean, but I think they all had roles in that. I think the whole thing was the platform to get things rolling. You know, this once again, you know, with titles and who did what or whatever. I believe it's more about who put the work in, you
Right.
know, and you know, I can always say I'm the boss, but if I never done the job or never had any part of that, is you know, it's really nothing. But you know, he, like I said, he pursued it. He went out. He made a lot of great strides with U.S. Studios, but his whole focus wasn't just that. You know, he wanted to make sure that the community itself, the queer community, the gay community, was always moving. But I think a turning point in even watching that is when he left U.S. Studios, and that was the running joke I didn't get to talk about in the turntables that I found in the basement that I started mixing on was the turntables from the breakup of U.S. Studios.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't piece that together right away.
Right.
But he, you know, I was fortunate. To show you how God works. I was fortunate to get that, but he went into fashion. And when he went into fashion, just in the great Benny fashion, and what he would do, he studied. So, what did he do? He went to become a manager at one of the popular Italian stores on Oak Street, Fiorucci's. And but him being who he is, he was always reaching and helping out the scene. So even I know Lori even had some dealings with him back then, and she had a photo shoot or something like that, and Benny left the store open for them to come in and take the pictures that they needed to take. I think it's Lonzo Brazil. He's an IMG model. He even talked about how he was introduced to Benny, you know, as far as a way of life, and you know, I think it was important. But I think the big thing of that is he got into that part. You know, just like in life, he fell on some hard times, and to be honest with you guys, uh, the most dealings that I had with my brother, I remember when I was a kid, my sister had a Sweet 16 party at 206 Jefferson, and I was 12. So I didn't, you know, I just knew I was in the big room and he was running around. And I think the big thing is when we finally got together, me and him got to know each other. It it kind of changed everything in the scope of just not, you know, helping on the gay scene, the queer scene. He started getting involved in helping his brother, which transcended to so many different people.
Right.
You guys got to know my neighborhood. I come up with some of the greatest vocalists: Kevin Irvin, Reggie Hall, Keith Nunley lived across Ashland. You know, we just had a networking going on. But the big thing is when he got into Northwestern and then he started his fashion, but he studied the craft before he got into it. And not only that, he went over, like I say, he went overseas. He went to Milan, Italy for a year in fashion, Japan for 6 months, and then we all was in one big melting pot on 93rd and Bishop, where I grew up. Me, my mom, my dad had passed away. It was my mom, my brother, and my sister. And you gotta think about it, there's a 14-year gap in between me and my oldest sister and brother, both of them rest in peace. But now he's in my world, I'm in his world. And man, my friends started coming over and they wouldn't leave. They used to go and love hanging with Ben. And then now I go from there and I got Brian, I got Hugo, I got all these people, my brother Kenny, everybody on Bishop. Then now I got the whole scene. I got Frankie, I got Freddie, I got Craig Loftus, I got all these people that's at my house that we can, you know, we consistently meeting and talking and having a good time. And the network was just crazy. But
yeah.
from that network, I got people to meet Frankie through my brother that sang on records. I got like I told you, my brother did the Jam Silk album cover, costumes. You saw the makeover for Celeste. I mean, he continued to be involved in the scene. And I mean, for me, like I told you, it was a big thing for me to be able to meet some of the people that I didn't realize 20 years later would be a big part of my life.
Right.
You know, and
It's always funny where it starts from, man. You never really see it at the beginning, and a lot of times that you deal, and then when you sit back and then you go back, you go, you know, I met Keith Nunley, Blase Skippy, or I met this artist here or there, or I met this DJ here or there, and it just generates from something that you probably never pay attention to initially, but when you recollect on it, you be like, wow, this person was around me the whole time, and I didn't even know it.
yeah, yeah.
And I just think that's what I love about this more than anything, about house music more than anything else, is because everybody came from some humble beginning.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I mean, this craft, this what we came from is amazing to see, where the first little rock that rolled down the hill that created that big snowball is amazing to see where we are now. To go back and think, sit in a room, when you sit in a room and have conversations with somebody 35 years ago, come to, and see where they've grown and where you've grown, and be like, wow, this is amazing.
Well, I think part of it too is what we're going through right now. And when I talk about being humble, I always crack the joke and say I'm still the head garbage dumper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but what we have is we have people in the industry that, and this is what I can say about my brother. My brother always had the philosophy of being able to move mountains with your arms folded. And what I mean by that is, everybody can't be in the forefront. Everybody can't be the Michael Jordan of the show.
Right.
You know, when I talked about putting in work, I mean, what are you doing? We like behind the scenes work. Who's gonna be that role player or that team player or the person's involved that's making things happen, truly happen, but doesn't need to be in the limelight for all. And
just be supportive.
Yeah.
Someone who's going to support somebody else's dream.
Man.
And it's their dream. It becomes their dream too, but they don't need to be the head honcho on the whole thing.
And honestly, in business, when you do that, you tend to wind up being just as successful, because once again, just like you pointed out, from humble beginnings, how do you get where you at?
Right.
You know, and I see a lot of that right now is that we don't have a person, they feel that this is my time, and whatever it might be, and then you jump out there and you find out it ain't your time, and then you're disappointed.
Right.
So honestly, my brother that was his biggest thing. He didn't want to be the person that got the recognition or the pat on the back or whatever. If somebody gave it to him, that was fine. But for the most part,
he just
wanted it. It definitely, I tell everybody this. Definitely, when it came to the queer gay community, I mean, I really, a part that's very touching to me is that I know what happened and how most of them died at that time.
Right.
Because I lost my brother, so this to me, this is very.
That was a very tragic time.
Exactly.
And
so
sorry.
yeah. Oh yeah, but it was. But here's the good part: I'm able to sit here and I'm able to talk to you about him and explain his flight and how he's able to touch, and got so many different people out here that he touched. Still to this day, they're still running around that you'll never forget him,
and they still mention his name.
Yeah.
Which is why we thought it was so critical. I mean, what we think we're going to do this year is really try to remember those people who contributed. And for the last 10 years that we've been doing this, I've always heard Benny Winfield's name. And I didn't know exactly why, and now I do. What I'm going to do quickly is just throw that little snippet that has a couple of shots of your brother in there, and then, let's just quickly talk about a little bit of that.
At the door, he would give us a hard time getting in. So the group traveled to New York City to David Mancuso's iconic loft party.
When we got into that David loft, it was like going into another world. Everybody was dancing. The music was blasting all over the place. It was just such a different feeling of not having known what that was like being here in Chicago.
They fell in love with the freedom, the openness, the energy. They couldn't stay away.
I said, nobody here has any parties like the ones they have in New York. And my mother said, why can't y'all just have parties here? And a little light bulb pops up in my head. I'm thinking, wait a minute, she's got a point.
Crosley and friends formed a social group calling themselves U.S. Studio. They planned to use their own apartments to throw loft-style disco parties that replicated the New York experience.
And we also said, we really don't have any money. And Ziggy said, well, I'll give you guys $500.
So, what did you think when you saw that documentary? You knew the documentary was coming out?
Yeah.
And so you were, ready for it to come out and ready to looking for it. Were you thinking at all, oh, maybe I'll see my brother? You're just going to watch the documentary as someone who loves house music?
Well, I kind of had heads up. I was really more, and I understood what it was about, but I was a little more disappointed that they couldn't mention his name. And, but it was just, I was just grateful to see that he was even given a moment of having his pictures in there, because I know the work that he did put in. Me personally, the Ziggy part, I'm it's not clear, but that's who he was with. So I don't know how it came to be that they wind up getting the money for doing the warehouse, but I know he had something to do with that. So I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. I don't want to.
And we don't want to do that either. We just wanted the truth to someone to say exactly what his role was, because we hear his name. I don't know if people can hear me because I don't know if my mic is working, but we hear his name, we see these different things, and I want to just be clear. We did an initial flyer for this talk that we were going to have today. And it really is serendipitous that you are here, because I've been talking about you literally for months. And then Rocky out of nowhere says, oh, Greg's coming on the show. And I'm like, what? I was like, God wants us to have this conversation. But I sent the thing to Aisha Mays to do the thing. She's been a part of the scene for 40 years as well. And she sends this back with all these things on there, which she's been around, and she believed that. She knows him. She believed these things were true.
Well,
so it was a surprise to see the pushback with that said, oh, he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And it's great to get the clarification, but he was there, and he was there with Ziggy, who is, of course, quoted as co-founder and all these other things. And it's amazing, like, how much, all the people, you just mentioned Frederick and Frankie and all these things. And if you weren't here, we may never have heard this story.
I knew Michael Matthews. Michael Matthews stayed at the house. I was real close with Michael Matthews.
Wow. And tell people who Michael Matthews is, the people who don't know.
Michael Matthews is a co-founder of U.S. Studios. He was a DJ at U.S. Studios at the warehouse. He was a great guy, very humble, didn't talk, he wasn't look like a big, loud, outspoken guy, very humble, nice person. And he also tragically was a part of the epidemic that swept through the community. And but like I say, he was a part of the Bishop crew as well. I would see him all the time, come by.
So that entire flow was at your house. Then he was holding, sort of that whole culture in the house and making sure that they were going to flourish, right? Like bringing people together, because you need that unifying sort of piece that says, look, we all need to come together and work on this together and be supportive of each other. And he was that glue who did that.
Yes, he did. And he designed his clothes right down there. So 90% of the time, he was making some clothes for somebody, or something going on, or somebody got fitted, or he would use some, hey, I'm going to use you as a model today.
That's so cool. We're gonna throw that other little quick video up too that talked about him being sort of more of a model real quick.
Mhm.
That he was just, like a free flowing guy.
Okay.
Like just ready to attack everything. That picture. Only so many people can do that kind of move as a model. Like that flow that he's in just says a lot about your personality. Even if you're a professional model, you still have to have that in you. You know. So that says a lot about him.
Yeah, he tried to send his brother to do it, and they said nope.
Some people have it, some people don't have it.
He didn't come from that. Get him out of here.
Yeah. No, we want him.
Exactly.
Yeah, we want the big brother. We don't need the little brother.
Right.
Which is so cool. He tried to throw you in there. I think that's nice.
Yeah.
But we're so happy that you came to talk about him. I think in our final thoughts, we've got a few more minutes. We definitely want to just end with, what are the final things that we should know about Benny and that the world should know about Benny? He's not here to tell his own story. How was he as a brother, a human, a son? Tell me what you want to tell the world.
Hey, he was and it still runs in our family, but he was a very caring and giving person. He was the type of guy that would definitely give his shirt off his back. He believed in making the world better, even making himself better. His drive was out of this world. I mean, it still kind of reigns in our family. My sister's a business person. I have my own business as well, outside of even still working another job. But it's just a part of life. He believed in putting in hard work, but he also believed in sharing the wealth. And he knew once he shared the wealth, and it would help other people, it would help the network, it would help everybody be successful. So he never was a person that really wanted to see people down. He always was somebody who would lift you up. I think that was a big thing on why people would go and hang out with him, because they knew that they would.
It's always positive.
Some type of way. It was like a therapy class.
Right.
I think that's a part of the Loyola part that where he didn't finish, because that was what he went to college for.
Got it.
Yeah, so he still was doing his major.
There you go. Exactly. So, sort of to wrap this up, how do we reach you, Greg? What are you up to now? What are we seeing for 2025 for you as we sort of start the year by remembering someone who inspired you? What are we doing for 2025, and how can folks reach you?
Well, I'm still on all social media platforms. I still have my website, djgregwinfield.com.
Okay.
Right now, I'm just doing certain events. That's all. Everybody doesn't really know much, but about a year ago, we tragically had a major fire, and I'm just in a rebuild.
So sorry.
Yeah, I'm in a rebuild mode right now. But I mean, thank God I'm here. My wife's here.
Amen.
And, everybody's good, and family's going, and but it's just that simple for me. As the season moves in, as far as the year, you'll see more things come out, and I'll just continue to advertise. But I am looking for some type of, residencies are real tough these times now. So it's just basically finding a platform and just playing on that platform for now, and whatever music begin to push back out. That's all.
All right, so we got to reach out to DJ Greg Winfield and DJ Rocky for some flow for 2025.
Well, I got a question, because
You got 2 minutes for that question.
this question is going to be real quick. You started dabbling in production as well.
Oh.
I mean, in Track Source, you can look up DJ Greg Winfield.
Yeah.
So, are we working on that as well?
Hey,
I mean, because we need to know again.
Hey, look, I just moved into my home, and trust me, I'm already looking at my square footage for my studio.
I hear you, bro. That's good.
I'm looking to have that up and running.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
If
about.
not the end of the summer. So
That's what I'm talking about. Because again, who you are
part of my
Comes-
problem
comes
is
to the
I'm a
music.
God bless a child that has his own guy, so I struggle sometimes. But I still know I got a great network, great friends. Big up to
Mhm.
Terry Hunter and
Right.
the rest of the family out there, Wayne and everybody. Those guys have been very supportive to me when it comes to the scene. All the
Nice.
other DJs, DJ Alicia as well.
Hmm.
So I mean, I got a network. Eric Martin, I could go down the list. Eric Martin, I could keep rolling. You, I mean,
Oh,
so
yeah, that's
that's
without
it.
doubt.
So,
So that's without doubt. So again, I've always made sure nothing about what I do has ever been just what I've done. It's always about somebody. Because no matter what you do, no matter how good you are, if you don't have support, that's like the tree falling in the forest. How you know it made a sound?
yeah,
You got to have people there to do it. So
without a doubt.
just like I said, paths crossing, conversations, and it's not. Again, we don't have to sit down and talk about the whole book of life.
No.
It's brother, how you doing?
Yeah.
Everything all right? I see you here, there, that, and the other. And that just means you've been looking and you've been seeing. And that's support enough. For me, it is.
I'll
So
put it to you like this. I look forward to updating you in about 6 months. That's
Okay.
how we'll do it.
All right,
Okay.
we ready?
We are
That's
ready.
ready.
That's what I'm talking about.
oh yeah, let's see. You ain't got nothing. You ain't said nothing but a word. Cause trust me, this is a platform for me to keep this going. 100%.
That's it.
So absolutely.
Hey, that big ups to my man Sean Hardison. He's really pushing the Catholic parties on the South Side.
Mhm.
You didn't give us your whole trajectory. You told me, but clearly we got all of the high schools that y'all went to.
Oh man,
We gave
Well,
Hales love.
there's the Spartan school, which is
Yeah.
quickly, and then
Yeah.
there's the other.
There he goes. So you're gonna get some style. You can't.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
That's
You
almost
gotta
like
think-
absolutely.
You gotta think about the Mendel cats, man. You can't tell them that.
Oh, Monarchs, whatever, please.
Hey,
Whatever.
big up to Kirk Townsend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love to
Shout out
Kirk.
Kirk. 1000%.
Kept
Absolutely.
it going. Kept it
That's
going.
right. So, but yeah.
And I got a bunch of little brothers from Leo, my
Oh, I'm
St.
sorry.
Margaret family. You know Earl McKay is your classmate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my brother.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
That's right. That's right.
100 grand.
That's it. So, all right.
All right. So, I'd like to thank you, brother, for coming.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Appreciate it.
I'm glad we were able to get some more stuff out here about you, about your brother, about the influences that both of you guys have had on this industry.
Yes.
So I'm totally humbled to have you here. We are wrapping this up to now. This is the Vintage House Radio Show. I'm your host this week, Rocky Floyd. Be ready for next week from Mr. DJ Mega. I don't know who he's got yet, but I know he's going to bring somebody incredibly amazing.
He's got a really good guest, so we're going to keep the surprise. We got some great guests in 2025. We're celebrating 10 years.
Okay.
So we're notching it up a little
That's
bit.
right.
And celebrating.
That's
and
right.
So
Absolutely.
hope to see everyone at all our celebrations.
I appreciate this.
So yeah,
Thank you.
once again, I appreciate you 1000%. So this is WNUR 89.3 FM and HD1 Evanston, Chicago. Vintage House Radio Show signing off for this week. As a matter of fact, wait before we go. There's another brother. Okay, so Nathan Brooks Jr.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, DJ lost his damn mind. That's his DJ name. DJ
Lord.
lost his damn mind.
Okay.
That's his name.
That's
So-
my man.
I'm on the lookout for you, brother, because we're gonna get you. I know you. He's from Chicago, but he
He lives in
decided to
town.
leave.
Yes.
He won't. He kind of wised up.
Winter, we
That's
get
right.
it.
Right.
Like, it's
He
cold.
went to the warm weather.
Oh, he went to
That's
one
all
way.
right.
So yeah.
You guys
So
quit fighting them hurricanes
Yeah.
right now.
yeah. I'm coming for you, brother. You know I'm gonna come for you regardless. So again, thanks you guys. Y'all take care.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Vintage House Show podcast. Please subscribe and share, and check us out live, WNUR 89.3 FM, Wednesdays at 10 o'clock.